Tonight, an advocacy group promoting family values is backing candidates in the Regina School Board and municipal elections. Another conflict of interest investigation for Saskatchewan's education minister.
Bad hair day or chemo.
We find out what not to say to someone dealing with a cancer diagnosis.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, September the 25th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. We start tonight in Ottawa. The Liberals have survived a vote in the House of Commons that threatened to bring down the federal government.
Move that the House has no confidence in the Prime Minister and in the government.
Members of Parliament voted on a non-confidence motion introduced by the Conservatives, and as expected, Bloc Québécois, the NDP, and the Liberal members voted against it. It failed 211 to 120. It's one of a series of confidence votes the Liberals could face. The Bloc today said it will pull the party's support if Liberals don't meet two of its demands by the end of October. For a second time, Minister of Education Jeremy Cockrill is under investigation by Saskatchewan's Conflict of Interest Commissioner. According to Cockrill's 2022 disclosure, he invested in Helium Evolution and Royal Helium while a member of Cabinet. In a letter to the Conflict of Interest Commissioner, the opposition's critic for ethics and democracy wrote that one of the companies has significant land holdings. That's because it was given helium permits covering 5.6 million acres of land by the government of Saskatchewan. The NDP call it a conflict of interest.
In the year leading up to March 2023, after the government had announced they were going to be putting big money and resources into growing the helium industry in Saskatchewan, Minister Cockrill bought into two helium companies, including Royal Helium. And these were the two helium companies, arguably, that were partnering most closely with the Sask Party government.
In a statement, Cockrill says he did not participate in any government decisions regarding the helium industry. He also denied having any inside information and accused the NDP of slinging mud. Cockrill says he is cooperating with the commissioner. As people cast a vote in Regina's municipal election this fall, they'll also be voting for school board trustees. A group in Regina is endorsing candidates based on certain beliefs they've made public. And sub-educators say this raises questions and concerns. Jenny Whitfield has more.
Parental rights, keep sex out of the classrooms, and return to the basics in education. That's what some candidates running for public school boards are campaigning on in the run-up to this fall's election. One Regina political activist group is endorsing 7 candidates for public school board on that basis.
We vet the candidates to see whether they align with our principles, and if they align with our principles, we'll provide an endorsement for them.
The group's founder says that those principles start with the belief in the value of family. He says the city council and schools should steer clear of issues involving gender and sexual identity.
Teachers should be teaching, reading, writing, arithmetic. You can teach history, you can teach geology, you can teach geography, you can teach, all of those things. But when you get into the area of sexual education, that's a different area altogether. And if you get into that area, then parents need to become involved. They need to consent to what's going on. They need to consent having their children involved in those programs. And if they don't consent, the children shouldn't be involved in those programs.
The group was happy when the province introduced the Parents' Bill of Rights last year. That bill requires educators to inform parents if sex ed is being taught or if they're using different names or pronouns for children. That bill is currently in court. But many of the candidates the group is backing approve of the changes and are outspoken about it.
Do you believe that teachers should keep secrets from parents?
Yes.
You do believe that they should keep secrets from parents? Get off my lawn.
Thank you, Ren.
Transsexuality is not
what about it?
Sex, bisexuality.
What about it, though?
It doesn't need to be taught in the school.
Why are you pushing that?
It's not taught. It exists.
Her post goes on to say,
We can't have one school thinking a drag queen story time to kindergarten students is acceptable, or a teacher telling a grade 3 student that they don't need to choose their gender yet is acceptable.
But several educators are concerned about the push for more parental rights in schools.
And it's not about a parent's right for their own self. It's about saying parents' rights should trump children's rights. And parents should be able to control what their children learn, what pronouns their children are able to use, and what their children's name is, which doesn't match what the Human Rights Code says about children as independent rights holders.
Years ago when I was in high school, I probably would have never dreamed of even coming out when I was in the school building. I see a lot of kids that were getting more comfortable with being out in their school spaces, being like, hey, I think I might be queer or I might be bisexual or gay, and being okay with that, and having somebody say, that's great. Like, how can I support you? And since last year, now it's been almost like a backpedal where I'm seeing less kids that are trying on identities and trying on different pronouns to find what sort of fits them.
Educators say education isn't static. It's evolving past Eurocentric, colonial ways of representing the world. And that includes representing, acknowledging, and affirming all young people in the curriculum. How education continues to evolve? That's up to voters when they cast their ballots in this fall's municipal and school board elections. Jenny Whitfield, CBC News, Regina.
Teachers rallied outside Saskatoon City Hall today, raising awareness about school violence that teachers are facing. A recent survey of CUPE education support workers found 70% of workers had experienced violence in their school in the last 3 years. CUPE represents over 7,000 workers in the K-12 education system. The rally follows an incident at Evan Hardy Collegiate in Saskatoon where a teen girl was lit on fire. A 14-year-old now charged with attempted murder and arson. CUPE wants urgent action from the province to address safety in schools.
You know, 30 years ago when I started, there was such little violence in schools, and probably in the last 8 to 10 years, it's just escalating and escalating and escalating. The cuts to funding and sustainable funding have forced school divisions to make impossible decisions, and the result is less staff, less EAs, less teachers, less professional staff like counseling and speech and language people, and kids are paying the price for it.
A U of Ottawa study on school violence in Saskatchewan also included stats about threats from parents. It shows 1 in 5 workers reported threats of physical force from a parent. After more than a year of fits and starts, Saskatoon will have a new homeless shelter this winter. City Council finally made a decision, voting to approve a new shelter, but as Pratush Dayal reports, the new location was not endorsed by everyone.
In its last meeting before the civic election, Saskatoon City Council finally made a decision about the proposed downtown shelter. With a vote that landed 7-4, the council will move ahead with its plan. This is the site at 210 Pacific Avenue. The enhanced emergency shelter will offer 30 to 40 beds with 24-hour access. The decision comes after 10 speakers presented, 8 of whom were against the site. Saskatoon's Mayor Charlie Clark urged presenters to be respectful.
I do want to just recognize that, this is a very difficult issue.
Among the presenters are people representing nearby businesses, including this dance studio across from the site, where many kids attend.
We're concerned about their safety. We're concerned about their exposure to drug paraphernalia and the dangers that might present as well.
The neighbor next door shares those concerns. In this building, a child psychology clinic also operates.
The decision feels short-sighted and counterproductive. This problem is bigger than all of us here today.
Previous emergency shelters that have operated in our neighborhood in recent years created numerous challenges for our district, stifled operations and growth for many businesses, and created an unwelcoming atmosphere at times for staff, patrons, and community members.
This has been a source of controversy for quite some time. 2 neighborhood information sessions with Q&A periods were held. About 130 people attended. In his presentation, Saskatoon City Manager says for nearly a year, dozens of sites were evaluated.
There are no other sites that we know of that could be made ready even for next spring, much less this winter.
Community groups agree that there is a need now. The Salvation Army says for the first time it was full all summer.
Do we need to do a better job of preparing for this winter and the winters that come every year? Yes, absolutely.
The non-profit group, the Mustard Seed, will operate this new facility. The shelter will be open for temporary use for up to 18 months. But before that can happen, the city says it needs $250,000 worth of renovations. The goal is to open the shelter before the end of the year. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
New artwork was welcomed into the Lieutenant Governor's teepee at Government House in Regina today. The artwork was painted on a large teepee liner by students.
I never thought that I would see myself being able to speak in front of a bunch of people like this, let alone paint a big project like this for the Lieutenant Governor himself. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and hopefully this opens up more opportunities for me in the future.
Well, it's just another way of bringing them into the fold and them demonstrating, and rightfully so, that their proper place in society in general, and make them feel good about what they can do or what they're capable of. And they certainly demonstrated that through this artwork.
It's held to celebrate the work, including the young artists and elders who blessed the liner. In August of 2020, the Lieutenant Governor's office purchased a teepee to be used for ceremonial and educational purposes. Lieutenant Governor Russ Morasti saw the large liner as an opportunity to engage youth in an art project. Students from Carleton Comprehensive High School in Prince Albert and Chief Piapot School of Piapot First Nation created the designs. Some special blankets were unveiled this week at the RCMP Heritage Center in Regina. They're part of an exhibit called Witness Blanket, which is on now to celebrate truth and reconciliation. All the quilts were created by artist Muriel Buffalo, made in collaboration with the community to show the journey of healing. You can check out the exhibit until Monday, September 30th. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders unveiled a special Indigenous logo this week. It is one of 9 different Indigenous logos developed for the CFL's teams in honor of Truth and Reconciliation Day. The Riders version was designed by artist Chris Chippick of the Red Pheasant Cree Nation. It shows a Treaty 4 flag, a buffalo, and a ribbon-like prairie skyline. The logo will also be featured on the team's helmets on Saturday. There will also be a pregame celebration of Indigenous culture. Oh my gosh, if you judge today based on sunshine and temperature, you would never know we are rolling up on the end of September. This is how things looked on the University of Saskatchewan campus in Saskatoon today. So how long do we get to keep this summer weather? Ethan will have your answer in his forecast after the break. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Employee pricing is on now.
Welcome back. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. And I don't want to complain because we will miss this in January. But
yes.
Is Mother Nature confused?
Perhaps a little bit, or just giving us one last treat before the summer fades away slowly. But yeah, boy, have we ever had some warm temperatures across the province today. Here's just a look at where some of those daytime highs have been across the province. Over 30 degrees in many locations. And if you didn't get to 30, well, you got pretty darn close. Look how far that heat extends northward. Even 25 degrees today in La Ronge. Many of these temperatures sitting some 10 to almost 20 degrees above seasonal, especially when you look at parts of south central Saskatchewan. And I am going to single out Moose Jaw here for a second because this, well, technically Environment Canada rounds 34.6 up to 35. So this would be your latest 35-degree day that you've had ever on record. This is also the hottest day this late in the year for Moose Jaw. Not, however, the warmest September day. That it goes to 37 degrees, which happened back in September of 1978. Now, on top of the sunshine and the heat today, we have seen the winds pick up sometimes over 60 kilometers an hour. This has kind of come down a little bit. These are not peak winds that we have seen today, but we are going to continue to see those gusts through these next couple of days. I think tomorrow particularly, through south and central, this is a bit of an undershoot here. So I think we're looking at gusts maybe in the range of 60 to 70 kilometers an hour, starting as early as kind of mid-morning hours and then lasting through to the evening. And then as we get into Thursday, still quite breezy along eastern sections of the province. And then as we get into Friday, things looking to calm down a little bit, especially as we get into the morning hours there. Now, this is all because we have this area of low pressure, which is kind of connecting with this secondary area of low pressure here. And and that is bringing a cold front through the province. Not only is that going to pick up the winds, but it's going to drop temperatures, especially in the western half of the province as we head into tomorrow. Could also be triggering off some showers and thunderstorms, but I think the best chance for that will be in the north. For Regina and eastern sections, it'll be a pretty uneventful day tomorrow. We'll still be looking at temperatures still quite nice. And then this high pressure area kind of lingers for a couple of days, keeping south and central nice and clear. But a couple of areas of low pressure are going to bring some cloud and some light showers at times to northern Saskatchewan before high pressure starts to move back in. And if we take a look at the upper atmosphere, what we're noticing, of course, it's this ridge that's been bringing in all that hot air. Even though that ridge starts to move out, other than the cold front knocking temperatures down, we're actually going to stay pretty nice as the upper atmosphere gives us those warm temperatures still. Look at Regina, even tomorrow. Yeah, we're down to 25 degrees, but that's still well above normal and will stay that way until the end of the weekend, perhaps getting close to 30 degrees on Sunday. For Saskatoon, again, you're seeing the effects of that cold front tomorrow, so a much colder day, well, cooler at least, with a chance of thunderstorms. The wind's going to be quite breezy over the next few days, but summer, Sam, may still be lasting yet.
Standing in a furnace at the end of September.
We love it.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We've got more news for you after the break. Welcome back. When Barbara Rule started talking about her cancer diagnosis, she was not prepared for what came next. She found that people's words of encouragement were anything but.
I'm a cancer survivor. I received a diagnosis of endometrial cancer, stage 3. While the rest of the world was grappling with a pandemic, I was faced with major surgery, 6 rounds of chemo, and 28 treatments that involved radiation. What I wasn't prepared for is the reactions of people when I told them about my health journey. Bad hair day or chemo. I would categorize that as thoughtless. Here's a little bit of context. It actually happened during a chat. I was attending an online meeting. I had lost all my hair. I was wearing a really pretty turban, and then somebody in the chat said, bad hair day or chemo. Didn't know how to react to that, so I just told the truth and I said, chemo. Now, the folks who wrote that were mortified and horrified and apologized, of course. It had never been their intention to hurt me. One that really surprised me and then upset me. No surprise that you were diagnosed with cancer, given your busy lifestyle. The reasons that you get cancer is not because of the lifestyle that you lead, as this person was implying to me, but because cells behave badly. The last one, which for me was always the toughest one, it will be over before you know it, which to me is actually, and I'm going to use the word clueless very intentionally, because once you have received a cancer diagnosis, your life has changed. Regardless of what stage it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, you are now part of an elite group just like anybody else who's had a critical illness diagnosis or who deals with a chronic illness. And that brings me to what I personally found really helpful. I'm going to share 2 things that really worked well for me. One was to show me empathy. Show me that you care and what you say is important. My response is typically, my heart goes out to you. Or something like, that must have been really hard. The other thing that was really important to me, and remember my backdrop was, I was doing this during COVID, and I'm a non-partnered individual, so I was told nobody outside of Saskatchewan could come and be with me. All of my family is nowhere near Saskatchewan, so they had to watch my chosen family in town, who were fantastic looking after me. Show me that you're thinking of me. Show me that you want to involve me in your life. So offer me some personal support to the point of what can I do for you today, this week, next month. But only offer it if you really mean it. Involve me, Don't pretend that I've already died, because I'm not. I'm trying to be as healthy as I can be.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
We're going to keep that summer weather going tonight because we're not even dropping below 20 degrees by midnight under those clear skies in Regina. Getting into tomorrow morning, though, a little bit of some increasing cloudiness, and there's the off chance we could see maybe a shower in the area as well. But look at that, 8 a.m. around 17 degrees. That's like the middle of July, basically, for us. Going to be a windy one, though, as I mentioned. Gusts near 60 already at the noon hour. Temperature a bit cooler than today, but still well above seasonal. And then Saskatoon, again, pretty much identical forecast for the overnight. Again, a chance of showers as we head into tomorrow morning. And there is the chance of either a shower, maybe a thunderstorm, non-severe into the afternoon, as those winds, Sam, continue to gust pretty strong at times.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we go tonight, on Saturday in Toronto, the best of the best will face off to see who is the king of NHL 94. A Saskatoon man organized it, and he tells Saskatoon Morning why the classic game is still a fan favorite.
For people who don't know the game, what is so special about NHL 94?
It was, so there are two previous versions to 94. They had a 93 and a 92 version, and those versions, one year had the NHL license, but not the players. And then the second year, they had the players, but not the teams. So this is the first year that it all kind of came together where we had both the NHL license and the players license. So it was great. You got to have everything in it. It was also the first time that they introduced the one-timer, which many people playing video games today just take it for granted, but it had to start somewhere, and it was that video game that started it, along with manual goalie controls. So those are things that were not in games before. They got introduced, and I'll use a kind of a quote from Mark Lesser, who was the programmer. When he got interviewed in a documentary, he said, it's the first time it actually felt like you were playing a real video game, real hockey video game in his eyes. So, and I thought to myself, I don't know if you can explain it any better than that.
Now, you're the organizer of the NHL 94 World Championships later this month. What is it going to be like, and where are competitors coming from?
So it takes place in a place called Free Play Toronto, which is an arcade bar. It's sort of in the downtown Toronto area. And we have players coming from all over North America. So when you're talking Canada, it's from BC to Nova Scotia. When you're talking the United States, it's players from California to as far south as Texas, Midwest, and then the Northeast. But this is the first year that we actually have players coming from Sweden, outside of North America, which is really cool. They've always kind of wanted to come. They knew about the tournament for a long time. Just timing, finances, those things didn't line up. But this year, they're making a big trip out of it, and they're going to be there too.
We'll see who comes out on top. That's it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or /Saskatoon. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.